Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you to Esri Portugal for the opportunity to come and present. I'm really happy to come because Portugal brings very good memories to me. I remember in the old days when I was younger, we used to take the bicycle in long weekends, in the long vacations after school, and ride the bicycle, and we often came to Portugal. So I have very good memories of the landscapes and the people in Portugal. Later on, I actually spent a few days of my honeymoon here in Lisbon, so I have even better memories from this country. So that's why it's a privilege for me to be here today. But I'm not going to talk about honeymoons or bicycles. I'm going to talk about apps and how apps are helping organizations do the digital transformation that Rui was describing before. Some people think of apps as those that run on mobile devices only. I'm going to take a broader definition of apps today. Apps that run on web browsers, on desktops, and mobile devices, but apps that have one thing in common. They are very simple user experiences to get the job done. And that's what people are asking for, because people in organizations often don't have time to talk and do philosophy about GIS. They want to get their job done, and they need a simple user experience to get their job done. So I will use different scenarios to describe how people are using apps to transform the way they work. In ArcGIS, we have lots of out-of-the-box apps, apps that you can configure and tailor to your own business processes. And we can categorize these apps into different blocks. Apps for the field, apps for the office, apps for community engagement. This is going to be the first part of my presentation. Then I will talk about apps that you can build. Let's talk first about apps for the office. Typically, apps for the office are those that allow us to look at data, explore data, and support better decision-making. Apps in the office are used by many different companies, and here are some examples. Starbucks, banks, insurance companies, organizations of all sorts are using GIS today to support better decision-making through apps. I wanted to go with you over the experience for Walgreens. Walgreens is a pharmaceutical company in the US. It's a $67 billion company, and they have pharmacies all over the place in the US. They use geography and GIS to compete in the market. Let's have a look at this video. It's only 4 minutes.
My name is Jillian Elder. I'm the director of our Enterprise Location Intelligence team at Walgreens. Our Enterprise Location Intelligence group is well placed right in our corporate strategy organization. What this means is that we're well positioned in order to service a bunch of the divisions throughout the company. So we end up partnering with divisions across the entire company to improve upon the information that's going into their decisions.
Understanding our customers, where they live, where they work, why they're shopping us is the core of what we do, and that's in many ways a spatial question. Our work and our spatial analysis and our mapping technology is centered around serving customers.
Walgreens has started an initiative to offer flu shots at nearly every location. With a network of 8,000 stores, we really have the ability to identify sales trends of products that are relating to flu. And with that, a flu index was created.
Now, the way we get this data is we use our prescriptions for antiviral medications. And that, for us, is our best indicator of flu activity, because generally speaking, when someone has a positive flu test, they are getting prescribed an antiviral to help treat it.
When we combine that in with our mapping applications, we were able to, before the CDC could report on it, understand where flu was happening throughout the country.
It was very important for us to have a simple mapping platform that would illustrate what we were showing in the flu index each week. What the CDC does is their data is reported on a 2-week lag, whereas inside of a week we're able to turn around data. So I think that that really helped us in terms of the credibility of the Flu Index because ours was closer to real time, and I think that was very important.
What we've been able to do is show people how important having that spatial lens on our information and on our analytics is. Walgreens is a 24-hour company. That means we need to be able to provide data on any device at any time, anywhere.
So many of the important decisions that we make within our company are based on location, where stores are going to be, how we want to merchandise those stores in terms of the items we want to have in those stores. And all of that is really driven by the wall map tool that we have.
Wall map allows us to provide spatial solutions to people that aren't experts in GIS. So we were able to deploy solutions that are much more user-friendly and easy to learn.
We made it broad-based so all of our data is there and very easy to turn layers on and off, and to have some basic dashboarding so that anybody here at the company can consume Walgreens information in a map format.
Mergers and Acquisitions uses WallMap on a daily basis. Each of our managers are responsible for territories across the country, and they use WallMap to identify competitor locations. We look at distances, we look at population of certain Walgreens trade areas, we look at demographic information and how that can play into the business retention that we expect when we purchase pharmacies.
For our users that go out into the field, we needed WallMap Pro Mobile. And what that really does is allow people to use any sort of mobile device when they're out in the field so that they can look at data about our stores right there. Now we can actually have a tablet that follows us as you go, the map pans as you move, and I can go ahead and take inked notes against an aerial background, against a map background, against a market share background, against our stores, over the top of our competitors, right there out in the field.
What's amazing about the GIS platform is not just all the data that it can aggregate, but its ability to display that to make it easier for executives to understand what's going on and make the right strategic choice for the company.
At the core of how people behave is geography, and strategically having a geocentric approach and thinking locationally and geographically is huge. If you're not, you're missing something.
So let's take a few takeaways from this. One, Walgreens was able to implement GIS through apps, but also with involvement from the higher executives in the company. That is key. You need a champion, a leader that can identify how geography can make a difference in the company to support the project. I also found very interesting, often people think, well, to implement GIS, we need a lot of data from different sources, and it's true. But the most important source of data to feed your own apps is actually your own data. In this video, they were describing how sales data from Walgreens was feeding their GIS department, their GIS applications, and they were doing predictive analysis to anticipate flu campaigns. That's quite interesting. We have the best data in our organizations to drive this type of projects. The other aspect that I found tremendously interesting is this idea, this philosophy that geography can help everyone in the company. It doesn't matter what type of work you do, a map can help you. That's why they put an effort into making maps available at all times for everyone and in every device. And that is possible and is key for successfully transforming digitally your organizations. What I want to talk next is about some of the applications that they actually used to implement this wall map system. One of them is ArcGIS Maps for Office. Why was this application important? You may think, well, often you need a hardcore group of people, GIS experts, that are going to drive these projects. Only partially true. You actually need involvement for as many people as possible. ArcGIS Maps for Office is a simple plugin that runs within Microsoft Excel. It allows you to display your information in a spreadsheet as usual, but also bring that information in a map right from Excel. You can geo-enrich the data. You can suck data out of the map and put it into your own Excel worksheet. Why is this powerful? Because a lot of people that in the past couldn't use maps and geography to make decisions, now they can. So Walgreens was able to spread GIS tools across the entire organization in office tools like Office that were familiar to people. They didn't need to take a GIS class to understand how to use maps. The maps were brought into the tools that they used in their everyday life. Esri Maps for SharePoint similarly allows you to embed ArcGIS maps within SharePoint, so you can control who can look at the data. You can geo-reference documents and show them in a map so they can find them through SharePoint. We are also working on the next generation of data exploratory tools with ArcGIS. One of them is called Insights for ArcGIS, and is one that Walgreens is looking at implementing right now. This is a new application that is part of 10.5, our next release of ArcGIS software, which will ship before the end of the year. The beauty of Insights for ArcGIS is that it redefines how people can use tools to explore data and get ideas and information out of it. You can connect to databases, to Excel files, to big data, and very interactively play with the data, create tables, create maps to generate information products. Our next example is Los Angeles Bureau of Sanitation. They serve roughly 1.2 million people, and that's equivalent to over 2 million containers that they need to manage every day to pick up the trash. The LA Los Angeles Bureau of Sanitation has sensors in every truck, and this sensor is able to track the location of the truck, as well as the weight that they lift and how many times they lift the trash and put it into the truck. All this information in real time is monitored using operation dashboards, like the one that you can see now in the screen. In this map, for example, you are looking at the different routes of trucks that are active for the day. In this one, you can actually drill down into a particular route and understand how many containers have been picked in real time. All of this is done through an application called Operations Dashboard for ArcGIS, which is key for operational awareness. It often runs on desktops where you can look at the real-time information, but also you can put it into bigger screens so you can monitor key performance indicators of your organization in real time. One aspect that I find particularly interesting with Operations Dashboard is that it allows you to analyze your information over time. So you can look at what happened a week, a month, or a year ago based on this real-time information that was captured and archived. Operations Dashboard has been also used in the Ironman. I'm not sure if you are familiar with this triathlon in Hawaii. This is their temporary operations center where they have Operations Dashboard working and displaying the status of medical incidents throughout the race. Again, it's an application that is super easy to configure and very useful because visually represents in real time what is happening out there in the field. Next, I'm going to talk about apps for the field. I'm sure this will be important for many of you because you have folks out there in the field that are capturing information, and this data from the field is actually critical for the operations of your business. We have a suite of applications that is specifically designed to make the life of people in the field easier. I want to share with you the experience of Rts Energy. Rts Energy is a midstream petroleum company. They operate in the US. It's actually a small company. They work in a very competitive environment, as you can imagine these days. And they have implemented our apps for the fields to go paperless. One of the things I like about this story is that it really shows how a small company with very few resources can completely transform traditional business processes and make a difference in terms of competitive advantage. They are a small company. They have 30 people in the field. They are very young, and they had this vision of go paperless. Paper forms got lost. They got wet. Information was lost when translating from paper into digital format. They said paper should be a goner. So they selected ArcGIS apps to do this transformation. The guy you see on the left, his name is Zach. He is a guy that works in the field. In the previous example, I was highlighting how important it is for the high executives, the leaders of the company, to sponsor these digital transformation projects. In this case, we had that sponsorship, but his role was also key. You know who can put more obstacles towards digital transformation? Actually, people in the field. Those that are used to the old ways of doing things and they don't want to change anything. Well, Zach is one of these guys, young, anxious to make things improve. He was able to pick up on ArcGIS apps very quickly, and he became the spokesman for other field crews in this company to actually promote this new technology and move forward with the project. Rise Energy used different applications to go paperless. You can see here a diagram that represents the different aspects of field operations where GIS can make a difference. From planning, where people need to do their work in the field, to coordination. How do I coordinate people in the back office with people out there in the field? To helping people get to places with Navigator for ArcGIS or data capture in the field that you can see here represented. Let me describe some of these applications that Rise Energy is using. One of them is Workforce for ArcGIS. This is an application that we released in June 2016, not long ago, and is designed to help the coordination of people in the back office with people in the field. So as you will see in Workforce, you have a geographic view of where your field crews are, as well as the jobs that need to be done for the day. Through Workforce for ArcGIS, you can have people in the field with a mobile device getting information, notifications about the job that they need to do. And they can also pass the information back into the back office for coordination. Navigator for ArcGIS is a simple driving directions application that Rise Energy is using. You may think, well, we already have Google Maps. Why would I use Navigator for ArcGIS? The key difference here is that, like Google Maps, which gives you directions, Navigator can work with your own data. So in forestry, in agriculture, in many industries where you actually don't use commercial routes, Navigator can make a difference because you can digitize your own roads. And even if you are working in Lisbon, where there are commercial data sets with networks, you can actually integrate your own information in this network to figure which streets should be routed versus others. The other aspect of Navigator is that it's tightly integrated with other ArcGIS apps and that it works offline. Collector for ArcGIS is a simple application that runs on consumer devices to help you capture data using a map. And Survey 123 is also a new application that helps you capture data using smart forms. All of these apps work together against the ArcGIS platform. I'll show you very quickly how these applications work just in a couple of minutes. Just a small taste of how these apps work. This is Workforce for ArcGIS. Here you can see a map on the right side. This map is representing the location of my field crews. So that little thing here, that's me. And you know why the map is showing me my location? Because I'm running Workforce in my mobile device. In fact, right from Workforce, I can change my status from on break to working. As I change the status in my phone, you will see that also the status is going to work on my own map. So now I'm represented as a green point. I mean, how simple is that? If your field crews are carrying a mobile device like this, you can know where they are at all times. You can also learn what is their status. But most importantly, with Workforce, not only you can see at the location of field crews, you can also look at the location of assignments that need to get done. And those are these green points that you see here. So let's create a new assignment here. I'm going to create a new assignment. I have a predefined list of assignments. Let's say an asset inspection needs to be done. I can select here the crew, the field crew that will do the job. I can set the location, priority, the due date, and the time at which this needs to be finished. Let's say 10 p.m. And now I can add different identifiers and a description of the work. So say, I'm going to say check this hydrant. And then I create the assignment. Now, I'm going to switch to my phone. This is my phone running Workforce for ArcGIS. And you will see that in just a second, I'm going to receive this notification. One critical assignment added to me. Why is this important? Because with paper, you have to show up in the morning, get the jobs for the day, and then go. But if anything happens once you leave the office, now you can get notifications of things to be done at any time. I can tap on this assignment, have a map, so I can know where I need to go. I can see the description, check this hydrant, and I can acknowledge this task. So now in the back office, they know I have acknowledged this task. I am aware that this work needs to be done. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to navigate to this place. So I'm going to click here, and this launches Navigator for ArcGIS, so I can easily drive and get to that particular location. There you go. And now I'm going to simulate the routing here. Start navigation. My phone is right now singing the directions to me so I can drive, although you cannot hear the audio. But you get the point, right? It helps me get to that particular place. Once I am at that particular location, I can go back into Workforce and say, notes. I am on it. I'm working on it. And this message is going to be sent back to the office. And next, I'm going to open, in this case, Survey 123, so I can capture information in the field. Here you can see that I'm presented with a dead simple user experience, so I can type the asset ID. Date of inspection by default is today, and then the status. Is it in good status or needs repair? As you can see, as I select good or needs repair, more questions or fewer questions are presented to me. Let's say, needs paint. And now I could actually capture a photo and then submit the data back to the database. Here in the map, I can set the location, although by default, it actually centers where I am. And then send. Now this information, this inspection information, is now being sent back to the office, so people can do stuff with it. They can use operations dashboard to show in real time what's going on. They may want to use insights to analyze the information, and so on and so forth. And of course, now that my job is done, it is flagged as finished back in the database. So you can see how easy it is for people in the field to use this type of applications to help them do the digital transformation. Here's another example. This is the US Corps of Engineers. They had a project to identify beach erosion, and they actually used drones to help them with that task. They were able to create these highly detailed imagery maps of the beach, but most importantly in this case, 3D point clouds. This information is so accurate that you can actually see the ripples on the sand. So with this data, they were able to finish off the project, and they used this product called Drone to Map. Drone to Map is specifically designed to help you bring imageries from drones into ArcGIS, 3D point clouds, as well as base map imagery. It's fantastic not only for, in this case, finding beach erosion, but for emergency response, for agricultural projects, etc. I also want to touch on these other apps that we built, apps for community engagement. So far, we have been looking at how ArcGIS apps are used for gaining insights into data, how to optimize business processes to capture data, for example. This is a completely different game. Apps for community engagement are often used by local, state, federal government to engage with citizens. The idea with apps for community engagement is two aspects. One is to capture data from people. The other one is to present stories to them. Let's talk about capturing data from people. Have you ever heard of citizen science and crowdsourcing? This is the process by which an organization can provide tools to citizens to bring information back into the city or the local government. There's a great example from the city of Boston. The city of Boston, as usual, like any city in the world, they were having budget problems. They needed to build a map to improve the roads in the city. And they come up with this fantastic idea for crowdsourcing. You know that our mobile devices have accelerometers, right? An accelerometer is able to capture when the phone is dropping. So they developed a simple application that you would put in your car. And as your car was driving through a bump, the accelerometer was capturing the location. So people in the city actually installed the application, they put it into the cars, and they were able to quickly map the bumps in the road, which eventually led to fixing the bumps, prioritizing the areas that needed to be fixed. Why is this important? One, of course, because the bumps get fixed, right? But also because you help people engage with the city to build a better city. Here is another example. This is an example from the USDA in the US. They have built this citizens science project where people can use Survey 123 to capture information about soils throughout the US. So here you can see a map. This map is showing just the last 2 weeks of work. And the interesting thing here is that these points are being submitted by volunteers. In this case, expert volunteers, experts because they are experts in soil. So let's click here on this point, and you can see here the date when the actual inspection was done, although this was submitted just a couple of weeks ago. And here you can see the photos of these particular soil samples. Again, the key here is to open up our data sets for people to contribute to them. There is an interesting project that started or is about to start in Spain, in a region of Spain, where they plan to use volunteers to walk along the rivers to capture environmental issues, kind of patrolling the rivers. But the rivers will be patrolled not necessarily by employees of the government, but by citizens. Here's another example where ArcGIS apps are used for community engagement, story maps. Story maps are used to tell stories. And the best way to learn about the story maps is to actually go into our website. This is storymaps.arcgis.com. Story maps are relatively, I would say, mechanically easy to put together. The most complicated thing with the story maps is to actually bring the assets and the history forward. This is a story map that is right now featured, which talks about electricity in the US. You can use a story maps for all sorts of things. You can use a story map for an internal briefing within your own organization. You can use a story map to teach people about the importance of an environmental issue, or maybe to show people how money from taxes is spent in the city to address particular problems. So in this case, again, a story map was put together to talk about an atlas of electricity. You can see here that text, charts, and maps are combined to tell a story. So first, in this case, the atlas of electricity is making the point about the importance of electricity and what happens when you have a big blackout, like this one that happened in 2003 in New York. This is a real photo of New York with a blackout. There was no electricity in New York. They describe how electricity is generated and how the consumption and generation of electricity grows over time. They use maps to show where electricity is produced And those are interactive maps, so you can actually click on the map, zoom in, zoom out, and explore the geographic information relative to the story that you are telling. The story goes on and on. I don't want to get into the details of this story, but I want to show you how these out-of-the-box configurable story map templates can help you talk about the different projects that you are working on in your organization. So far, I have explored out-of-the-box applications, those that they have a very well-defined focus, and those that you can configure to tailor your business needs. Next, I'm going to talk about app builders. This is slightly different. App builders are used to create applications from scratch. And we have builders that work for web mapping applications as well as for native applications. Web App Builder is our most widely used builder application. Right now, we have over 1 million web applications created with this technology. They are used to build all sorts of applications for industrial zoning, for analysis of information, for utilities. App Studio for ArcGIS is a builder that is used to build native apps, that is, applications that run on mobile devices. Unlike web applications, native applications can work offline. And that's probably one of the most interesting features that people are after when they use App Studio for ArcGIS. Here you can see some examples of applications that people are building. I want to highlight one that was developed by a partner. This, as you can observe, is an application on which the user experience has been customized completely. It accesses enterprise logins within the organization to access a database of properties. You will see that the user experience is completely custom to satisfy the needs of people with fat fingers, people in the field. They don't want complications with ArcGIS, so they wanted to create a custom user experience. At the same time, this application features pretty advanced editing capabilities. You are going to see how a polygon is split, a snapping is used, honoring all the rules that are set by the developer. This application currently is being used in New Zealand. It's a company that is the biggest exporter of dairy products in the world. And this application is actually used by farmers and people that manage agricultural land. The beauty of App Studio for ArcGIS is that these applications are developed using a cross-platform technology, meaning that you write them once, but then they run on iOS devices, Android, Windows, Mac, and Ubuntu Linux. With this, I want to finish my presentation. My goal today was just to give you a small taste of how people are transforming organizations using ArcGIS apps and how the ArcGIS platform supports, through its app, different uses. The use of the ArcGIS platform as a platform for insights, to learn more about the data that you already have to support better decisions. A platform to support the optimization of field operations, and the ArcGIS platform as a tool to communicate with people either through crowdsourcing or through storytelling. Thank you very much.